Hello and welcome to this special presentation from KGW and the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame. I'm Orlando Sanchez. Each year, the Hall of Fame recognizes the achievements of Oregon athletes and those who have dedicated their lives to sports. Oregon has had a long history of incredible achievement in sports, and this year's honorees are no exception. In this program, we will profile some of this year's inductees and hear what they had to say at the award ceremony. We'll hear from the only Oregonian to ever take a world title in boxing, the man who dedicated his life to elevating youth sports, and the great 1975 Timbers, the originals, when Portland first became Soccer City, USA. First up, Molly McConnell, a woman who found her calling in the ring.
You can stop me if you've heard this story before. 20 years ago, a young woman walks into a boxing gym for the first time and ends up a world champion and a mentor to a new generation of fighters. It's all true. Molly McConnell rode her natural talent and work ethic to the top of women's boxing, and it all started in one of Portland's historic venues. It was 1999, Molly joined a Boxing for Fitness program at the Grand Avenue Gym, a hotbed of the sport. It didn't take long for trainer Ron Woodward to notice her skills and style. With a little coaching and encouragement, McConnell began her amateur career and quickly rose to capture the Oregon and Washington Golden Gloves championships. Molly knew how to punch with power with both hands and drew the attention of more quality coaches. Bill Mertz began to train her at the West Portland Boxing Gym, along with the well-regarded coach Leonard Trigg. Molly quickly earned the nickname Fearless, and that's when her career really took off. Just 3 years after putting on the gloves, Molly won the National Golden Gloves Championship, the first Oregon boxer, man or woman, to win a national title in 18 years. By the end of 2003, McConnell had won 4 national amateur titles. She was the top-ranked welterweight for 2 years in a row. Next came the transition to the professional ranks. Molly worked her way up the ladder in junior welterweight class. That journey culminated with 2 world championships in 2011. McConnell retired after 64 fights and now runs her own gym. McConnell Boxing Academy trains boxers, MMA fighters, and fitness enthusiasts. Her longtime coach, Leonard Trigg, is part of her staff. Molly always considered herself an excellent boxer, but now sees herself as an even better teacher. Oregon's only professional female world boxing champion, Molly McConnell, is welcome to the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame.
Well, Molly, congratulations. Was there a moment in your career that you really had to dig deep and, for lack of a better term, pick yourself up off the canvas when you look at all the success you had? I'm sure there's a lot of adversity you had to get over, too.
Yeah, especially being a woman and you know, there's fewer women who box, obviously, and when I started, there was even less. So just the business part of boxing is really difficult to navigate. It's something I had to learn as I went along, and I learned a lot about that. As far as fighting goes, probably the biggest adversity I had during a match was breaking my hand in a fight about 5 rounds into 10 rounds. So that's just something that you have to either decide you're going to get through or not. But yeah, my career is 16 years of competitive boxing, tons of ups and downs, but it was, you know, in hindsight, all of it was worth it, so.
As a coach, what are you hoping to pass on to the athletes and the boxers that you work with? What are you hoping that they get out of their time and experience with you?
I think my biggest, the biggest thing that I want to do as a coach is to help people achieve what they want. I think a lot of coaches have kind of an attitude that I want to make champions. I'm not necessarily in it for that reason. If I have people who have that as a goal, I'll certainly help them. But, you know, most people will never reach that, you know, level. So I think helping people with their self-esteem and things like that is just as important. So for me, it really depends on the individual person and who we're working with and what they need. That's what I want to give them.
Well, you have a remarkable journey, and there's a lot of things that you got out of the sport, but a big reason why you're sitting up here tonight is the fact you won a world championship. And I always love sitting down and talking to athletes about what that moment was for them when they reached the top and they achieved that goal in their sport that they're really seeking. What was that moment like for you when you reflect on winning that world championship?
You know, honestly, part of it was relief. We had worked so hard and had so many kind of close calls with opportunities like that. And those spots for world title fights, when you're female, you really have to fight to get those spots and those opportunities on cards. So we had a lot of kind of false starts with that. But to get to that point, I think it was just relief. It was almost like I had trained pretty much consistently with no break for 15 years. So to have that, it was almost like, oh, I can take a minute and try to enjoy this a little bit. But yeah, it was obviously happiness and all that, but I think mostly I just felt like finally, after all this time, you know, we got the opportunity to do that.
All right, well, Molly, congratulations.
Thank you so
much. Have a special guest here. At this time, from the induction class of 2002, another great boxer, Lightning Ray Lampkin Jr. Please come up to the podium. Molly, let's stand and join him here.
And I want to congratulate you on all your accomplishments through the sweat and sacrifices in order to win awards and championships. It is my honor to welcome you into the Oregon Hall of Fame.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
For 3 seasons, starting in 1980, Beavers basketball held a 35-1 record at home and a record 77-11 overall, and topped the national rankings. Mark Radford and Ray Blume were leaders on that team and were honored this year.
The time was right. You know the years, 1976 and 77, the birth of Rip City. The state of Oregon was crazy for basketball. The champion Trailblazers, the Kamikaze Kids, and some of the best years of high school basketball in history. In the center of it all was Grant High School and their floor leader, Mark Radford. The Portland native was a household name, playing for Tom Jones. The Generals' record was 49-6 over Mark's junior and senior seasons, both years losing to eventual state champion North Eugene, once in the semis, then again in the 1977 final. Radford was named All-Tournament those 2 years and All-State in 1977, along with future Oregon State backcourt mate Ray Blume. Ralph Miller knew he had something brewing when he brought in Radford and Blume with his large freshman group in the fall of 1977. This was the genesis of the legendary Orange Express. Mark was an immediate impact player, averaging 30 minutes per game, scoring in double figures all 4 of his collegiate seasons. And just like his fellow guard Blume, Mark shot over 50% from the field for his career. It all came together in the 2 magical seasons of 1980 and 81. The Beavers won back-to-back Pac-10 titles and sat on top of the college hoop world. Radford ran the offense the way Miller intended, passes never hitting the ground, everyone a threat to score. Mark was named All-Pac-10 in 1981, averaging 13 points per game and grabbing a career-high 61 total steals. Radford is on the Oregon State career top 10 list for scoring, field goals made, assists, and steals. Mark's basketball talent stayed in the Northwest for the duration of his career. He was selected in the 3rd round of the 1981 draft by the Seattle Supersonics and played in 97 NBA games over 2 seasons. After basketball, Mark has enjoyed a long and successful real estate career, raised a family, and still has some moves on the hardwood. So, how about a big guard who shoots 50%, plays great defense, and long minutes? Let's sign him up. Ray Blume checked off all those boxes as a key member of the Orange Express. Blume was already a hometown hero at Parkrose High School. He led the 1977 version of the Broncos to a 25-1 record and a third-place finish of a state tournament, losing only to North Eugene. Blume was named first-team All-Tournament and All-State. At Oregon State, Blume was an immediate contributor as a freshman, averaging 16 minutes per game off the bench, shooting an impressive 52% from the field. His sophomore year saw Blume take over a spot of a starting lineup, and his 13 points per game and over 50 steals helped the Beavs advance to the NIT. In his final 2 seasons, Blume was a key figure on both ends of the court, scoring in double figures, shooting over 50% and averaging 3 assists and nearly 2 steals per game. He was also a transcendent teammate, sharing the ball with Mark Radford, veteran big man Steve Johnson, and newcomers Lester Connor and Charlie Sitton. He was invited to try out for the 1980 Olympic team following his junior year. Following a 2-year professional career, Ray settled in Portland, where he remained a force in AAU basketball. He has been honored with inclusion into the OSU Hall of Fame and the Pac-12 Basketball Hall of Honor. We welcome Mark Radford and Ray Blume to the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame.
Ray, you had a successful career at Parkrose underneath Coach Terry Woods. What was the biggest change for you then going and playing underneath Ralph Miller?
Oh, that's a good question. I got Terry Woods sitting with me, and I got Jimmy Anderson sitting with me. Going from Terry taught me how to play the full basketball. Defense, offense, help out, all that. And when I went to Oregon State, Jimmy helped get me there. But playing under Ralph, it was a little different. He was a little stronger, tougher, meaner. and I had a sense of that from my high school coach, but it was now a new, tougher guy. And so once I figured him out, I was okay.
And Mark, Ralph Miller, what was that experience like for you? And when you look at his style of play, how would that translate to today's college basketball scene?
Well, I think it would with the shot clock. And unfortunately, we didn't have the shot clock. We didn't have the three-point play. But I think Ray adapted well. I mean, I think he had his coach was very disciplined. My high school coach was a little freer flowing. I grew up in the city. It was more of a street game, and so I had to go there and learn a different style and a different way to play the game, which I appreciated. I felt like the street ball will only get you so far, and I had to learn some more of the technical aspects of the game. So it was a pleasure to learn it, and still to this day, I think that his style of play applies at any level. And so I look forward to somebody carrying that torch of Ralph Miller.
And elaborate on that a little bit. The Orange Express, why was that group so successful? What was it about that style of play that you felt really helped elevate you guys?
Well, me personally, I mean, it was constant, we're firm believers that constant pressure on defense, as you see in the video, constant pressure on offense. It's just, and then unfortunately, without the shot clock, we had games. I don't know if any of you recall the Stanford game with 18-12. So, and it didn't always apply, but we could slow the game down, we could speed the game up, and so we were able to adapt. And his system with Jimmy Anderson was incredibly simple, and I think he made the game so simple in that we could master it because it wasn't overcomplicated. Ray?
I agree exactly what he said, but we also, off the court, we would get together with 15 guys and go play, all 15 scholarship players. We'd go play 3 or 4 nights a week, and we got to play with other people than just the starters. Mark and I would play with other guys. And so when we got to practice time, we were already in sync with each other.
Last question real quick, that you guys said you were roommates in college. Any good roommate stories at all, or anything that you can share here?
Not today.
That'll be at the
Yeah, I agree with that one. Yeah.
Or no, that's probably at the barbecue only, the get-together right there. Well, at this time, from the class of 1995, look to the screens for current inductee and your former teammate, center Steve Johnson.
Mark and Ray, for all you've done throughout your sports career, it is my honor, Mark, Radford and Ray Blume, to welcome you both into the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame.
Every year, the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame inducts legends of sports, but they also recognize coaches, benefactors, journalists, and those that dedicate their lives to making sports possible. Dr. Bob Gill was honored this year for his special contribution as a journalist, historian, and for elevating prep football.
Bob Gill had an early love for football, but it wasn't until his 1953 senior season at Jefferson High School that he excelled. As Tom DeSilvia's first quarterback, Bob had an all-star season as the play caller and passer. It earned him a Shrine Game selection and a football scholarship to Oregon State. After a short freshman season, head coach Kip Taylor was fired, and that left Bob to focus on his pre-dental studies. Football was not quite over. When a young Portland State team came calling for a quarterback, Bob played for the Vikings for one season. We honor Bob tonight for his special contributions to Oregon sports and this event. In 1987, Bob Gill became a board member for the State of Oregon Sports Hall of Fame. He worked with director Stan Link and discovered his great interest in sports history. For 6 years, he was the chairman of the selection committee. Bob's research led to the publication of It's in Their Blood, a history of 53 Oregon football coaches. For 40 years, Bob believed in the National Football Foundation's Scholar Athlete program. As a historian, Bob successfully nominated Tommy Prothro, Neil Lomax, and Ad Rutschman into the NFF College Hall of Fame. For 14 years, he presented the Walk of Champions Award to champion high school coaches. In 1998, Bob Gill provided the early leadership to return the North-South All-Star football game to Portland. With help from coaches and Neil Lomax's company Promax, they established the Les Schwab Bowl. Bob created and presented the MVP trophy, the George Shaw Award, for 20 years. In 1975, Bob's creativity helped create Portland State's top football trophy. The Chuck Withers Award is given annually at their banquet. In 2010, Bob offered to write the story of Oregon and NFL legend Mel Renfro. After 5 years of research and writing, the biography Mel Renfro, Forever a Cowboy, was finished. Bob dedicated the book to his wife Faith, his lifelong cheerleader. For his special contributions to Oregon sports, we welcome Dr. Bob Gill into the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame.
Congratulations. Have a seat, please. Bob, you look at all the hard work and hours you put in for this great sport of football, all the wonderful athletes you've been around, that you've documented. Here you are sitting in this chair, inducted into the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame. What does this moment mean for you?
It's pretty special, but at this time of my life, words can't explain what it means to me. I gained an appreciation for the award for a former inductee. In 1991, I remembered the induction of Joe LaPrince, a 60-year Mac Club physical fitness employee. When LaPrince accepted the honor for his contribution to sports from writer George Passero, I was captured by his genuine appreciation of the award. The next day, I delivered a framed picture of to his Southeast Portland home as an instant gratification memory. Joe LaPrince hung it proudly in his house, in his office for the next 16 years.
So we only have time for one more play, and for that, we need to bring up a fantastic quarterback here to help us out. So at this time, from the induction class of 1993, would the great quarterback Neil Lomax come up to the podium, please?
It's now time for all the hard work, the countless hours, this is my writing, it's not his, that you put behind the scenes. And a lot of people like to be behind the scenes. and what you have conquered, and you continue to battle on a daily basis. For these many years that you have devoted yourself, your passion, your purpose, your entire life to the state of Oregon and its athletes and its sport, we thank you and we welcome you into the 2019 Hall of Fame. Dr. Bob Gill.
The Oregon Sports Hall of Fame also recognizes high school scholar athletes. Each year, they award scholarships to students headed to college with support from the McConnell Family Trust. Each student is both an athlete and has a great academic record. We salute this year's recipients and wish them the best. To watch the Timbers at newly expanded Providence Park is to share the exhilaration and pride of over 25,000 fans. But in 1975, the original Timbers brought down the house and ignited the fire we still feel today here in Soccer City, USA. Which is why the 1975 team and their run for the championship were honored this year by the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame.
Soccer is the game. We're the Portland Timbers, and winning is our aim. So let's...
Soccer City, USA was born right here. In the summer of 1975, the very first edition of the Portland Timbers NASL Club captured the attention of the Rose City with a collection of unknown names that kindled a special passion with their first-year playoff run. The expansion team rode a roller coaster of overtime thrillers all the way to the Soccer Bowl championship game. The first roster had a distinct English accent. Manager Vic Crow was a Welshman who had played and coached at Aston Villa. He brought along a large group from the Midlands. The first roster featured 10 Brits, a Scotsman, and another Welshman. The new team started slow. 3 matches, 2 losses, only 2 total goals scored. But the spark was struck during a 3-game homestand at the end of May. 2 overtime victories brought the fans out to Civic Stadium, and the crowd swelled to over 10,000 for the first time. The Timbers could not lose at home. They won 10 straight home matches during the regular season. The Timbers would not lose in overtime, 5-1 during the regular season. And one of those unknown names became a goal-scoring machine. Peter Whiff, a lower division player from Liverpool, would lead the team in scoring with 18 goals, using his height and skill in the air to great advantage. The Timbers ended their first season with the most points on the table and a fan base wanting more. Extra seating had to be brought into Civic, and 2 crowds of over 30,000 watched the Timbers win 1-goal nail-biters against Seattle and St. Louis. The great adventure ended with a 2-0 loss to Tampa Bay, also an expansion team, at Soccer Bowl 75 in San Jose. Peter Whiff left Portland after just 1 season and would enjoy a lengthy career in England, scoring 74 goals for Aston Villa and collecting 11 caps playing for his home country. Many of his teammates would remain in the Rose City even after their playing days and form the nucleus of the coaching and mentoring of young players that make Soccer City, USA what it is today.
So let's give all of the boys a cheer, for the Portland Timbers will be here.
We welcome the 1975 Portland Timbers to the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame.
What was the glue, or what kind of kept this whole team together and on the same page that brought everybody together, in your guys' opinion?
Most of us, as you've mentioned in the intro there, came from England. Came from the same sort of West Midlands industrial area. We played for different clubs, 3 particular clubs. The coach was familiar with all the players, so even though we were from different clubs, we knew each other, we played against each other. So when we arrived, we had about 10 days, I think, to prepare for the first game. And it started to gel, and then Willie came a bit later and gave us some energy on the opposite wing, etc. So by the time he'd arrived, we knew we had something special, and it was a team-first mentality. No stars, no posers, as we would say. You just had to play for the team.
And how do you reflect on just the fervor that is here right now and the fan support and what you guys essentially started with the sport of soccer in Portland? Do you ever think about that or reflect upon that, about how much it's grown?
Yeah, you know, all the time. I mean, you know, I think the 75 team was like you build a house, you got to have a really good foundation. We were the foundation for the Timbers. And, you know, we were successful, which was really a key to that. And we got the city, the state really interested in who we were, what the hell is that game? And it grew from there. And, you know, we had some ups and downs in that NASL season. But, you know, there's a fever here for it. And, you know, thank God to Mary Paulson, if he's here, thank you. But, you know, he's did a great job of putting this franchise MLS together, which is, you know, if you haven't got a good league, you ain't got a good team. Mm-hmm. You know, you got to play somewhere. And he's done a great job. So he's kept the ball rolling.
I'd have to give credit as well to the owners that brought us to town, particularly John Gilbertson, former past president who's deceased, and Don Paul, who was the general manager of NFL fame, and to our coach Vic Crow and his assistant Leo. They gave us a great foundation, and one of the other investors from the early days, Don Pollock, is with us this evening, so he's seen this since 75 all the way through here. So a great base of local investors who were very interested in the team. They welcomed us on board, players that wanted to play as a team, and amongst the best fans in the world, helped us to get through to the Soccer Bowl that year and to establish the sport, or to help establish this. What we didn't do it alone. Lots have been done before we got here, but we certainly helped it along the way.
Well, it's great to see the foundation that you guys laid, and obviously the support that the Timbers have now would not be what it is without your efforts. But there's also a couple members in the audience. You mentioned the former owner, Don Pollock, but how about Tony Betts, Nick Nicholas? Can you guys raise your hand? Are you guys here tonight as well, too? Raise your hands. Give them a round of applause, all three of them. Now we have a special video message for you as well, too. Attention to the screens for a message from the 2002 U.S. Soccer Athlete of the Year and inductee in this Hall of Fame and the National Soccer Hall of Fame, Shannon McMillan.
You guys set the foundation for making Portland the one and only true Soccer City, USA. Well now, guys, this time has come. To all of the players of the 1975 Portland Timbers team, for all you accomplished on the field, and all you've given to the city of Portland during your athletic careers. It is my esteemed honor to welcome you all into the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Every year, the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame inducts legends of sports. Bill Walton has long been a member of the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame. In this 50th year of the Blazers, Bill went to the new home of the museum to take a tour.
Wow! Oregon Sports Hall of Fame. What more could you ask for in life? All the sports, all the guys. Look, there's Lewis and Clark. How fun is this? Special contributions, Gert and Tim Boyle, Columbia Sportswear, how they came when I first got here. They were so nice. They just cold called me. They said, Bill, this is not gonna work. Every picture we see of you, you're in a tank top, cut off jeans, and sandals. You better get in here and let us fix you up.
On the left,
Jack Ramsey, all right. Oh my gosh, this is just fantastic. Please, Jack, heal me, teach me, show me the right thing to do. I've done a lot of things in that court. What a spectacular place, man. I used to be able to run. Yeah, come on, get him, finish. Oregon, yes! So I've now become a baseball broadcaster. And I carry this around with me all the time. Batter up, let's go, you're out of here. Because Bobby took my spot, man. Look at this, how cool, all the guys, Terry, Buck, Clyde, Bobby Dorr, oh my God. Oh my gosh. Come on now, let's go. Oh gosh.
And your left hip. How's your left hip, by the way?
After you fixed it, I'm doing much better.
Okay.
Now look, when I cut back door, you gotta give me the ball, okay? Enough of the ball fake, right? I'm wide open, please. And now, if you just keep this elbow up a little bit higher, yeah, that'll keep the guy from coming right in. And maybe trim the hair a little. What are you thinking? I'm the luckiest guy on earth. I am a man of Oregon. I am a Portland Trailblazer. Trailblazers for life. Rip City.
The Blazers celebrate their 50th anniversary of making the Rose City proud. From the early days at the Coliseum to the superstar days of the early Rose Garden, the superstars of today continue the strong tradition of the NBA in Oregon. We salute the Blazers for a half century of great basketball and great commitment to the community. A two-time Olympian, a star of Oregon track and field, Kenny Moore ran for the legendary Oregon coach Bill Bowerman. He then became a journalist and spent 25 years with Sports Illustrated. It is for his lifelong achievements and contributions to sports that he was honored at this year's awards.
Kenny Moore has been one of the great storytellers of American sport for decades. As an athlete, he found himself right in the middle of some of the great stories while putting his own stamp on running and track and field greatness. He was known as Ken Moore when he graduated North Eugene High School and arrived at the University of Oregon. In the early 60s, he would letter 3 years each in track and cross country. Always a versatile distance runner, Ken was a 3-time All-American on the track in the 3-mile, 5,000 meters, and the steeplechase. Moore was a 1963 cross-country All-American and was part of back-to-back teams that finished second in the nation. Ken's partnership with legendary Oregon track coach Bill Bowerman extended after his time as a Duck. Bowerman had already been making shoes for his athletes for a decade when Moore suffered a foot injury in 1965. Bowerman relentlessly designed and refined a shoe to keep Moore injury-free. Moore, in turn, was the ultimate product tester, giving extensive feedback. This was the prototype for the famous Nike Cortez training shoe. As a post-collegiate racer, he flexed his muscle at greater distances, winning the 1967 U.S. Cross Country Championship and dominating the demanding Beta Breakers road race in San Francisco. Ken won the 12K Monster Run 6 consecutive years, from 1968 to 1973. Advancing to the marathon distance, Moore finished as high as second at the World Championships, setting a personal best of 2 hours, 11 minutes, 36 seconds. Moore competed on the biggest stage of all twice. He finished 14th in the marathon at the Mexico City Olympics, then qualified again in 1972, finishing dead even in the trials with his training partner Frank Shorter. Shorter would take the gold and the glory on the final day of the Munich Games in the shadow of the terrorist attacks. Moore just missed the podium, finishing 4th. These experiences and these times provided extensive material for the writer who would become known as Kenny Moore. In 25 years at Sports Illustrated, Moore told the big stories, championed the protection of amateur athletes, and co-wrote the definitive biography of the enigmatic Steve Prefontaine that inspired the film Without Limits. His activism helped win the freedom of imprisoned Ethiopian marathon champion Mamo Wolde. Moore has also written a biography of his coach, Bill Bowerman. Always relentless in his pursuits, we welcome Kenny Moore to the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame.
I want to go back to the 1960s, and what were the general thoughts about running and fitness in the 1960s?
Well, running and fitness was absolutely unappreciated until Bill Bowerman did jogging and wrote the jogging book, and that was one of the reasons why. And I happily got involved just at that time. And Frank Shore won the marathon in '72, and that exploded running at that time. So I was just a lucky participant and observer at the same time.
You mentioned Bill Bowerman. You spent plenty of time with him. What's your favorite Bill Bowerman story when you reflect on him?
That's tough. I wrote a whole book about him. And the story that had the most effect on me, the lesson that had the most effect on me, was him getting me to stop doing all my hard runs and getting me to start doing rest days. He forced me, was going to kick me off the team if I didn't do my rest days. And 3 weeks later, I did my rest days, did my normal workouts, and improved by 28 seconds in the 2 mile, and that was a lesson not just about running and my own physiology, but how eccentricity is something never to be ignored.
Everyone's really curious about the Nike Air Cortez and your relationship with Bowerman and the development of that. What does it mean to play such a big role in that and testing out that shoe?
So I run my 10 miles out on Coburg Road. I get 10.25 miles at the Shell station, and I got this funny pain in my metatarsal. I had to call my mother to get home, and I never called her. So and definitely it was a stress fracture. So I went into Bowerman, and he said, "All right, you will place before me the shoes that you wore." He designed a shoe that basically solved all the problems. Wonderful cushioning, but especially strong, supportive in the middle, and arch support. Cortez was the first shoe for Nike that basically solved the problem of how to run on the roads 4 years before Adidas would admit that was how you should run that shoe.
And now from the Hall of Fame class of 2000, a special video message from Phil Knight.
It is my high honor and distinct privilege to welcome Kenny Moore to the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame. I think every profession has some kind of Hall of Fame. Obviously, all the sports have a Hall of Fame, but also business has a Hall of Fame, and I'd assume there's a science Hall of Fame, and there's certainly an inventor's Hall of Fame. So I think it's probably everybody's aspiration, no matter their field, to be known as a Hall of Famer. But for somebody from Oregon, being inducted into the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame is extra special. Simply put, for us from Oregon, Oregon is home. And Kenny Moore tonight is being inducted into the Hall of Fame from his home. It's long overdue, but congratulations and welcome to the 2019 Oregon Sports Hall of Fame, Kenneth C. Moore.
Kenny Moore, for your superior talents and everything involving the sport of running, we now welcome you to the Oregon Sports Hall of Fame.
We honor the achievement of all athletes, all levels, and all abilities. Oregon has a special place of recognition for sports. The Hall of Fame and Museum works to preserve the life-impacting stories of Oregon's greatest athletes and their accomplishments. They support education programs in the community and provide scholarships so student athletes can pursue their dreams. If you would like information on the Sports Hall of Fame, visit their website, OregonSportsHall.org. Thank you for joining us for this special presentation. For KGW, I'm Orlando Sanchez.